What we found was that California's economy is continuing to demand more highly educated workers. Our projections to 2025 are a continuation of what's happened in the past and suggest that in 2025, 4 out of every 10 workers in California will need a college degree to succeed in the labor force of 2025. And yet, at the same time, we found that our population is changing in ways that make it unlikely for us to meet that demand. And specifically, while California has a very impressive historical record with respect to higher education and, in fact, K-12 education even, we're not keeping pace. And if current trends persist, we forecast that there will be a gap of 1 million people too short, too few college graduates in California. By college graduates, we're focusing on people who have a bachelor's degree or more. So in 2025, we'll have the shortage of a million college graduates. Now in reality, we know that's not going to happen. That supply will equal demand. And so we really are faced then with kind of 2 very different versions of a California future. One in which we would be much less educated than we would otherwise expect. And that means lower incomes, less tax revenue, more demand for social services. Or one in which we're able to rise to the challenge, improve educational outcomes for Californians, and end up with a future that is much more promising and is what I think all of us want to see happen in California. Obviously, the changes that we need to make are some of the things that we've outlined in this report, but obviously they're not easy to accomplish. But in our studies, we've identified key transition points where we think there is quite a bit of room for improvement. That is in direct college going from high school. California ranks 40th in the nation right now in terms of the share of our high school graduates who go directly to college. Our community college system is huge, but a lot of kids do not end up successfully transferring out of that system. So our best estimate is that somewhere between 20 and 30% of high school students who enter community colleges with the intention of transferring actually end up doing so. And then finally, within our state's public institutions of higher education, the 4-year universities, which of course are UC and the CSU system, we see that there's a lot of room for improvement, especially at UC in terms of completion rates. Only about half of an entering class of freshmen at California state universities end up finishing within 6 years. And those are kids who, they've done everything right, they've gotten into the system, and yet only about half of them end up actually finishing and graduating. So I think this study and this discussion that we're going to have tonight is really about what kind of future we want to have and how can we get to the future that I think most all of us would desire.
Let me start with a question for you, Hans, then just follow up on that. Let me ask, why is it essential that California educate Californians? What's wrong with the system in which Californians grow up here, leave, go to school, come back, don't come back? Why is it important to make these numbers?
Yeah, so when we first started doing work in this, one of the first questions people ask is, well, we'll just migrate our way out of this problem. That's what California has done in the past. And in fact, it is the case that a very large share of college graduates in California are people who came from elsewhere. It used to be that they primarily came from other states. And increasingly now, we have a higher share of people who come from abroad. So right now in California, among college graduates who are in the workforce, about a third are born in California, about a third are born in other states, and about a third are born overseas. But what we've seen happening over the last 10 and even 20 years demographically is that California is no longer attracting those domestic migrants that you talked about in your opening comments. And in fact, we have a net loss of college graduates to other states right now. And international migration, although it's picked up in terms of the flows of college graduates, it still falls far short of the need. So I think that the first answer is we can't migrate our way out of this problem. We're on a trajectory right now with respect to our migration trends, which is not going to come even close to solving this gap. And then I would also say that we want our own kids in California to succeed by our own education system. The number one expenditure of state government, declining as we speak, is education. And it is the primary purpose of state government. We want our own children to be able to succeed in the economy of the 21st century. And unless we change some of these pathways and see some market improvements, a lot of California kids will not be able to succeed, and they'll be underemployed or unemployed and have lower wages than would otherwise be the case if we're able to rise to this challenge.